KwaZulu-Natal, Berea, Durban, headquarters. But you're not getting this information for the first time from me. Years ago, I got a dream, so you can understand what's crawling up the skirt of Afrique du Sud. KwaZulu, Koshageng, Modi Satanidi Fufang Marotong. But Durban are the headquarters of this cult, and I can't tell you. The organization ya bona neng, ne? Maranje fela kopa le mameleng le oreleng le retseng. Bongwana, bontwaisa, bosambori, mamelang. A bunch of crazy people. After ANC came into power shortly afterwards, they noticed La Madoda. After apartheid ended, akere ba dutsi ko sekolong le bokarabo ba borwa ke taba hore nna ke eloquent. Amadoda njena, apartheid ends, and for a few years bayabona that out of all the blacks in the country that are out here grabbing the African dream like they're Vicky Thompson, black women. Yo, yeah, that's what they say. Out of all the previously disadvantaged blacks that came out of apartheid, black women, yo, yeah, out of all the previously disadvantaged people, black people, apartheid, black women, yo. What I'm trying to get at is that initially we were allowed to soar like a bird. In school, black girl students, yo. In my own school, when I was growing up, in primary and high school. In my own school, when I was growing up, both in high school and in primary. But let me rather speak just to high school, because I guess that's when I had the grandest of observations. I get it, we came out fresh out of apartheid, as we were not born free, because it was after 94, but we were at the very tail end of apartheid, having started in Kasi schools. So Neregana, the primary school, study Model C, our predecessors could only ever study in the Kasi. Black kids that went into primary schools, some Model C, some integrated, mixed with Indians, whites, everybody was like just out in a school together. Black girls and black boys that came out of Kasi schools. How quickly black girls, as I observed it, how quickly black girls acclimated to white schools, the English language, and a change of curriculum far excelled that of black boys. Now, let me just put this out there. Women are far faster or girls, they mature faster than men. But maturity is not the tantamount of intelligence, okay? Women learn easier because what's the word that I'm looking for? They copy easier. They role model easier because they've been built to follow. Girls role model much faster than boys because it is women or girls that God has built to follow. So structures that were previously above us, women are far quicker able to submit under them within their role and their position from God. They're the ones that submit under the patriarchy or under leadership structures. And when you submit under a structure, you look up to it and you emulate it, you copy it, and you acclimate, adjust much easier. Men, however, lead and they like to have their own thing that they're doing. And that comes in their bodies even from as early as when they're just boys. Therefore, among white boys, given that they were not historically previously disadvantaged, they had an automatic strength and a leadership even above white girls from the time I was in primary school. Observably so, I saw it. But the black boys, I can't speak for the Indians or the coloreds because I was largely hanging out with black people. Black kids, we stayed in our silos. One thing I certainly observed is that black boys still wanted to maintain their thing because they are boys. They feel like they must lead. And when then they're being led, when they enter into a space, they don't, it's like old habits die hard. Men don't quickly adjust or acclimate to a new space. They try to influence that space for their own ideal. Whereas girls easily submit under new structures because it's for them to be led. Therefore, black girls much faster acclimated to Model C schools, having come from the Kasi. They role modeled them faster. They copied the gestures, the mannerisms, the twang, the transformation of language on their tongues, like how they speak. They much faster acclimated to transformation even of their accents and their nuances and their ability to learn English. It was based on them role modeling Mahoa and them also wanting to speak just like them. They wanted to be snobs just like them. They wanted to be like white girls. Black girls wanted to be like white girls just like them. So when then our parents moved us from Kasi schools to Model C schools. Black girls quickly adjusted. And so as quickly as they adjusted, they then easier learned. When you are still dealing with a culture shock, it's kind of hard for you to, in this new culture, then start to learn maths in it. It's hard then to, in this new culture, essentially when you're still trying to figure out culture, it becomes harder for you to learn more intricate things. How can I explain it? Think about Afrikaans, for instance. When I was growing up, there was this one school in our neighborhood called Hoërskool President. It was an Afrikaans school. And I was shocked when we were doing netball in high school against Hoërskool President to find out that there were black students in that school. I did not know how in the world you could listen. This was my rhetoric, my thought process. How under heaven are you studying science in Afrikaans? Afrikaans to me was only ever A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And table is a tafel. Sit is to sit. Aardrijkskunde, I don't even know what that is. Wiskunde, kilowatts. Slaapkamer is a bedroom. It's like you go to Afrikaans to be taught Afrikaans in English. A table is a tafel. A boodskap is a letter, or a letter is a boodskap. I'm being taught Afrikaans but in English. That's all I can take. I could not understand how black students could study A times A is A squared in Afrikaans. It was just so bizarre to me. Like, how do you study geography in Afrikaans? How do you study English in Afrikaans? How do you get trained? Like maths, science, chemistry in Afrikaans when you are not Afrikaans speaking. I could not grasp it, but there were students in Hoërskool President whose primary language of instruction was not English but Afrikaans, and these students were out here being taught. I couldn't understand it. Black kids, they were being taught maths in Afrikaans. I was like, how are you passing? How are you able to read your script, your maths script? But that's the thing. Likely what went on over there is that they probably went to law school, whatever. Maybe even starting out in a creche. My little sister, my mother took her to an Afrikaans creche when she was still a baby, right? And she basically was formatively trained Afrikaans over there. And when then she started primary school, her primary school teachers were like, yo, your daughter's Afrikaans is really excellent, given that she's a black child. It's only because she went to a creche, yeah, Afrikaans. And so the teachers over there were out here prating with them instead of talking. So by the time she started primary school, it was really easy for her to do Afrikaans, but it fell off her because she then did primary school and high school in English, and the language was not maintained. So she's just as whack as the rest of us. But if at all you start at an Afrikaans creche and you go to an Afrikaans law school, primary school, and you go to an Afrikaans school, it's nothing at all for you to be taught maths in Afrikaans. I can't fathom it, right? I can't fathom it. But you see those black kids that were out here in Hoërskool President, out here doing aardrijkskunde, instead of is it geography or maths? What is aardrijkskunde? I don't know. I think wiskunde is science, but listen, I stand corrected. Okay, I do know that Engels is English only because it sounds like English. Alright? Yeah. Those kids, the black kids, Hoërskool President, are the kinds of black people today who would speak Afrikaans fluently without even glitching and twitching. But the rest of us that learned Afrikaans in English because we went to English instruction schools can only ever study Afrikaans in Afrikaans class, and even then as it is instructed in the English language. Well, when you're starting primary school as a child with a hard-knock Zulu accent and you're in grade 2 and you've only ever known the Kasi, and then your mother moves you in that grade 2 to an English school from a Kasi school, within a year I made an observation that it was the girls that quickly changed their accent. It was the girls that quickly twanged, not the boys. The boys and they struggled with the language for whatever reason. And I think it is rooted in the need for men, even though they might not be actively, deliberately trying to do this thing, but there is an inherent insistence upon leading. It's the judgment on Adam. They will try to rule women, and men will always, anywhere where they're at, they will always want to be the dominant force, even above other men of a different tribal group, a tribal persuasion. They will always try to infuse or inflict their own ideals on a new ecosystem so as to, while we're all men, we're the bigger men that are running all of you, because we've now entered into a space and I don't run oxygen to breathe. I'm going to give you a tank and I'm going to ration how much oxygen you breathe because the oxygen belongs to me as a Zulu tribe. So white boys, step aside. Black boys had that in them because that's just what boys or men tend to have. But they then were placed at a disadvantage to girls when it came to learning and instruction. Because in the same way that a child that has not been trained Afrikaans from the time they're in creche is going to struggle to study maths in Afrikaans. So too will then a person that doesn't want to acclimate to a white school and white instruction and white teaching going to acclimate to going from being trained maths in Tswana to being trained maths in English. Essentially what I'm getting at is that black boys at the beginning of the end of apartheid struggled. Black boys struggled above black girls, more than black girls, not because they were inefficient or deficient academically, but because it's not in men to just adopt the culture quickly. It's in women. Still to this day, I can't understand how Trevor Noah has not been influenced in his accent. His accent is still South African. I don't know how he's getting that done, because I have never been to the US, but I've been persecuted for 12 years, almost 12. In that 12 years, I've been robbed of affiliation with my own countrymen, and I've only ever watched a whole chunk of Netflix, listening to a whole bunch of Americans entertain, and YouTube channels, the majority of them that I listen to are American. And for 11 going on 12 years, I've been robbed of South African influences and have been placed in front of viewing of American influences. And it has afflicted my accent. It has. I can tell, I can pick it up, I feel it in me. And I know that people are picking up bone with it, and I don't care, because at the end of the day, I'm speaking English and I'm audible. I'm speaking English and I'm understandable. I am not unintelligible, and that's all that matters. I'm not bummed about the transformation of my accent. But if I had been maintained amidst South Africans, being a South African, my accent wouldn't have changed. It only changed because I was put in a prison cell where I was made to watch American TV for 11 years. Now I have an accent. I don't understand though how Trevor Noah, after all these years of living in the US with Americans, still speaks with a South African accent. Men don't barge. They're stubborn. They don't barge. You be out here getting an Aussie maintaining an Australian accent after living in the US for 25 years. But the wife, she be out here twanging all the day in, all the way long, rolling her R's and struggling to maintain her Aussie accent. Women are the ones that after 5 years of living in a country, their accents changed. My sister moved to Italy, came back with an accent to America. I don't know how that was a thing. I think it's because the students in the school that she was in were, I don't know why my sister came back with an American accent. Listen, I don't know. Because she was in Italy. Okay, but ultimately at some point she did live in the US. Some of her friends as well, American accents, because they studied in the US. I don't know who else do I know of that moved that side that is a woman, that over the years Njefela has changed. Women are influenceable and women are impressionable because it is within the woman's spiritual genome, if you will, to submit and adopt to a culture. Women inherit cultures. Oh, another one, Goldie Gamari is from Iran, but she has been living in the US for a minute and she's got somewhat of an American accent. But Iranian men that have been in the US for as long as Goldie Gamari has been in the not US, but yeah, in the US, have got an Iranian accent, a Middle Eastern accent. Like, men don't budge, men don't change, but women do. Men don't change, but women do. And then now I am just a most travestied example of that, because I have never even lived in the US. Mara, I've been persecuted until all I did was watch so much American entertainment that was the only dialect coming into my ear for years. I was living in the country, and so I've been adjusted. So therefore you can understand why it was the black girls that out here be rolling in a twang faster with like one polished English than black boys ever could. They could not speak like us. They also struggled to adjust to getting instructed in English like us, and so their results were abysmal in comparison to us. Of course, there were the really intelligent black boys that adjusted, that did well in spite of maintaining a hard-knock Zulu accent within English. And then there were the ones that never ever endured Kasi schools. They were always in the English schools. So they're out on some, yo, dude, how you doing? They've always been cheese boys. Like their parents never took them to Kasi schools. But they were the ones that all this time they were in that culture. So they were able to easily have white friends. They were easily able to basically hang out with Jonathan as a black boy. But the ones that came from the Kasi plagued with each other, maintained their language, barely spoke English, struggles to respond to teachers, while us as black girls were always just trying so hard to be like white girls. We were always trying so hard to be like the environment that we are now in. And it helped with how quickly we, like I said, acclimated to the environment, and it therefore also helped with how easily it was for us to study all other not language disciplines, but all other instructional disciplines, all other language, or not languages, but all other subjects history. We were able to far easier study history, geography, biology, whatever, English, maths, and so we did better. Girls did better in primary school. I observed it. Black girls, they did better than black boys. There were, however, some pretty gifted black boys. Like I said, there always will be that. But in comparison, in ratio, on a balance, the majority of star student performers in the black community were girls when I was growing up. That has very highly likely changed today because all the kids grew up free. They were born free. They were already born not being in silos, not cliquing, maintaining friendships within black circles. Like black boys hanging out with only black boys, black white girls hanging out with only white girls, black girls only black girls. The modern generation, like my sister's generation, they were already enmeshed with each other. And so therefore there was the playing field was leveled. So the aptitude of black boys to learn then increased because they were already in these environments, growing up in suburbia, having never lived in the Kasi. Your mom has always lived in Bryanston, so if at all you're a smart boy, you're gonna do well simply because you're smart. And like I said, the playing field has been leveled. Therefore, that's why I am only ever able to speak to Gen Zs and perhaps Gen Alpha. I can't get to millennials because they've been calloused and they're stubborn, and millennial boys, men, are so at odds with women and how strong we are, how quickly we adopted the new culture, and so therefore did well in it. Enough for us to have material success that they are actively gnashing their teeth at us for simply doing well when they're not. But they are being typical men, not happy to just give over themselves to taking over a new culture. I'm here to influence, not to be influenced. That's men. But women easily are influenced. That's what's going on over here. These are the nuances. And they brewed a satanic little ugly cult in Durban. And I'm here to talk about that nasty little cult. Okay. Black boys, observably so, as I saw it when I was on the come up, did not do as well as us in school. In grade 2, which was the first year that I was in a multiracial school, I was put, after getting out of St. Matthew's Primary, I was at Mayfair Convent, and I was put in some class. To basically get acclimated to learning English. And by the end of that year, my vocabulary was broader and wider than all the boys with whom I started in that class. Me and all the other black girls that were in that class were black students that come from Kasi schools to give us better understanding of the English language. We had slayed all of them. And as primary school progressed right next to high school, we also did better in maths, in science, in this, in that, because we were able to understand the English language enough for maths to not be hard, at least not on a language level. There was no barrier language-wise that made it hard to study maths. You get my point? Very well. Okay. These here things likely were an issue only in English schools. I wouldn't be surprised if the boys that indeed, and you saw it in corporate South Africa, the boys that stayed in the Kasi schools and so continued to be trained like trained, what do you call this thing? Science in Zulu. I wouldn't be surprised if they did better in matric, their results, than the ones in the English schools or even in like primary school. I can't verify that, but one thing I can verify is that some of the best employees in corporate South Africa were kids that started and finished from grade 0 to matric school in Kasi schools. Some of the best male colleagues I had in corporate were the ones that never transitioned over to an English school. All their lives they were in a Kasi school. They were basically all their lives instructed in Tswana, Zulu, whatever. And so they learned science in Zulu. They learned maths in Zulu. They learned English in Zulu. They learned Afrikaans in Zulu. And so because it was their primary language of instruction, and they were also in a culture that never ever made them have to adjust, they were maintained in their learning trajectory. And in a corporate, though they had that deep hard-knock Zulu accent as they spoke English, nonetheless were these hard-knock graduates at varsity and much better employees in corporate. It is the ones badi twang, badi huam huam, by hey Kuwaba, how you doing, that were kind of regressed in terms of their position. The ones that basically went to English schools or that struggled to grow even in corporate. So the issue here was culture shock, culture change in moving to white schools. The kids that did not move to white schools, the kids that did not move to white schools still were strong, evidently with the way that they were in corporate South Africa. And the ones that did were just lagged behind girls, and it just literally ate them like a maggot. And one of them is some ugly doomy monster that Algia is afflicting me for doing orals in English much better than him. And this here was a thing in both primary school and high school. It was the black girls on honors roll, barely any black boys. However, there were some, of course, there always will be. And as it was us, even among our boyfriends, Mamelang, it's a thing. Even among our boyfriends' age, it was us that once we matriculated, our careers just took off because we were the ones able to speak for ourselves. We had interpersonal skills with other races that black boys just never established with other races. We had interpersonal skills that made for easy interviewing, easy integration, and we were more easily favored by our peers in the corporate landscape. And this here got to them. Ingati, it was our fault that we easily wanted to be snobs in a way that they were just resisting being snobs. And this caused so much irritation on the part of black men, making an observation of not only the star quality of black graduates, black high school graduates, into either immediately corporates or varsities, but also the star quality of employees in black girl graduates, and then black girl or black woman employees. How quickly our careers not only took off but continued to rise up. Following then, listen, ANC, I will say ANC with a whole bunch of men that succeeded to get really successful in spite of the hatred that they then harbored against black girls. Once they were successful, they were like, we need to handle indaba yokuthi abafazi babantu abamnyama, they are growing at a grander rate of prosperity than us as men. After apartheid ended, men did not acclimate to the new culture as quickly as women did, because it's not within men to acclimate that fast to new cultures. Women, however, easily adopt. And our success as black girls won us a coup because they felt ingati omusadi sit down, chola aparatuku, samwetsa bana, samo koropa kitchen, samo pega sopo. OC. They made a decision that we need to go to Peggy Soap or Tina. So Peggy Soap or dog. Because when shut up. If at all you cannot stop the star quality of a black girl on the come out. And that's exactly what these monsters did. Instead of letting time fix the situation, because time would have fixed it, their sons would have grown up already in a culture that was integrated and so not struggled with their female peers. What they rather chose to do was instruct their sons to hate their daughters. They said, if we don't stop them, Bazos take her over. The situation would have fixed itself because the next generation would not have had qualms with adjustment because they would have been born free. Instead, they decided that they're going to kill us if we don't want to wear a hijab. And it's giving Ayatollah Khamenei all the way in 47 years ago. When you're going to want to force women to shut up, sit down, not be members in parliament because you don't want to feel emasculated by the strength of ladies, you're going to come up with a little theocracy that is out here proliferating abuse of female rights until your country is unrecognizable. But after 47 years, it'll fall. Because who doesn't resist all that trash? Amen. Very well, it's 4:09 in the morning and I'm still out here talking. And my tongue hurts because there's like I think I bit my tongue and it hurts to talk. But we're gonna talk until we're finished, even though my tongue is sore. Listen, we're gonna carry on. I decided that they're gonna punish us for being gifted. Okay. But the girlfriend. Let chicks that I'll just slate them. And so one fateful day, a couple of years after apartheid ended and the new democracy was in play, they all congregated these monstrous when they made this observation. They congregated. You know, men, their struggle with women doing well when women are finally liberated, the gratefulness of freedom that women feel once freed makes them go right to work to exploit the freedom. Amadoda, however, have been in this space all this time. And when then they observe women in their gratefulness for being free, do better than them. It's like straighten up, fly right, allow yourself to be encouraged by the hard work of a woman instead of trying to block her. Because she's only grateful that she was freed to study. Like when women were allowed to study like extreme degrees in universities, a whole chunk of them took on disciplines that are what is this? That were previously just for men and did so much better than them. We are your inspiration. Help us suitables to make you realize all this time we've been dragging your feet. Now that there are women happy and so therefore bright-eyed and bushy-tailed to do this thing and they're killing you in exams, study harder. Because all this time, you've been gathering dust, taking for granted that you need not compete with anyone because you're the boss, you're the pinnacled one. Now when women come into the picture, you hate us for getting better grades. Universities, more women out here be graduating with medicine. How's that? When before, it was largely men. More women graduating with engineering degrees. I found out that in Iran, when they finally opened universities to women, more women did degrees in sciences and the engineering arts and engineering and within medicine than there were enrollments by men. They were excited that they could finally do this thing, and so they worked really hard. You, however, have been in this space all this time and you took it for granted. If you're going to pick a bone with women doing well, now that they're free to do so in this space, you're immature on that day. What you should do is realize that you are in cruise control. And now that women are doing really well, straighten up, fly right, and drive a vehicle, manual, and stop putting on cruise control. It's literally that basic. Work hard. And now that you realize all this time you've been complacent, you've been chilling, you've been maxing. Work harder. Even the Lord said that work by the sweat of your brow. Okay. These guys, more of us got admitted into universities, got exemptions, women, than there were men, boys. We graduated with better results. We worked better in corporate and got promoted faster than them. Whoa. And again, women were the ones that were not always quickly picking bones with the Bosta Mahoa. There was this one chick back in the day that used to know Madimabi. YouTube. This chick was dating some dude when she was still in high school and he was already matriculated. That was a bum in the kasi doing nothing. And when she would ask him, babe, what are you doing with your life? From the vantage point of being in high school, I got told this story by my cousin. The guy smoking a blunt of marijuana was like, you're stuck in the system. You're stuck in the system. You're stuck in the system. I don't want to work for the white man because white man is trying to exploit black labor. He got into some conscious discussion yamarasta and his girlfriend accommodated it, accepted it because she was still in high school. But as soon as she matriculated, she realized that what am I doing here? This guy's gonna out here tell me the reason he's not trying to find a job in corporate South Africa so he can make ends meet is that I'm stuck in the system. He's gonna say that corporate is a system and that this system is out here raised up from the ground in order to mess with the black man's prosperity. And he's not trying to touch that. But he can't make ends meet. When then his girlfriend gets a job in a call center. Oh, she's still stuck in the system too, right? But she's the one that's getting 6,000 rands a month when you are still out here living kohumu. So bitches like your cherry. I'm out here talking about all these guys that have never worked a day in their lives. But he hasn't. He feels like I was his back. He needs to go and clean after him. And then somebody Madrasa slows down his vehicle and offers him an opportunity to work in a cult that's handling women for not realizing Uguchi. The show. Even though and this here person that keeps on saying you're stuck in the system, how grateful then is he gonna feel when he's working for a big business boss, however, not in the capacity of being like an administrator or somebody or to some kind of business, just to monitor people and be a little devil worshipper. According to this little boy, the girls are stuck in the system of working 9-to-5 jobs in corporate South Africa, out here pushing paper, being administrators, are struggling real hard to make ends meet. But they're making them meet while the guys are like, what I do is surveil people, and I terrorize abantu, because that's how a black man gotta make money. Stop working for the white man, stop working for a white boss. We were the ones as black girls that were therefore more submissive to our white bosses than black guys ever were. They were in rebellion to the system, and they were always grumbling underneath their breath. Whereas we were the ones that were bright-eyed, bushy-tailed on some, yeah, I'll try anything. Ambitious. And so we were more easily liked by Mahoa in corporate than black guys. Over time, those dynamics would change because of bitternesses inside Mahoa over BEE, and also over just how successful black girls became. Because of that, they then in passive aggression held back, stood aloof, and also actively sabotaged opportunities of black women because even they saw that we were doing well. And their frustration with BEE worsened the situation that is white people, especially white women. In the beginning of my career, I can vouch for it. White South African corporate was more accommodating of black interns or black girls, black recruits than boys. They regarded us as more hardworking and secondly, less full of attitude, less grumbly, It is because the mindset of this random guy that I told you about that was the boyfriend of Madi's friend. I out you on some, you're stuck in the system. They feel stymied by imisebenzi in corporate, and they feel irritated even sometimes by headship, by certain structures, until our girl that are more vivacious in the space are better accommodated, and it is them being better accommodated and so therefore promoted. They don't get it, and so speech, and they become nice and misogynistic against all of us. Very well, so what then they decided to do in some fateful year, some fateful day, some fateful odd week whack space of some fateful strange like century or decade, I got a cult in KZN. I've already explained the workings of this cult in my content, but I will explain it again. I had a dream about was I working or had I already been fired? Very early on in my journey, I could have been employed or I could have been newly fired. I don't know, but it was certainly in the early 2010s, because I lost my job. I lost my job in 2014. It was in the early stages of that season when I got this dream. So maybe either 2014 when I was still working, or 12, or maybe 2015. But it was the early years of my sorrow. Early years of my persecution. I got it was either the early years of my persecution or I was yet to be persecuted and about to lose, and not long before losing my job. I got a dream of a cult called KwaZulu-Natal, Koperia, Koteben in particular. Their head offices are over there. Their head offices were over there as at the time of getting the dream. And it is highly likely that they're still there, but I'm not sure. Government offices love to place themselves in downtown cities, and Perea is like sort of kind of downtowny city alike. It's like Joburg, yo. You know how CCMA is there, you know how all the courts are there, all the whatnot. Like, they just love the city, so they tend to congregate over there, likely using one of their official buildings, where it is that there's like some administrative office operating from there, like a home affairs. They maybe likely just used a building that already was there, that belonged to the ANC, for congregating a meeting, and their head offices and their meeting premises were therefore there above this here building, because it was already a government building. However, there is a cult that my ex-boyfriend belongs to that is in, like, it's not design quarters, but there is a like a shopping center. It's like a retail establishment that's not, however, like a mall, but it's also not like a shopping center, and it is not far. Like, it's, listen, I don't know if it's North Riding or around there, like North Riding, or is it Marlborough? But Marlborough is all the way almost close, like it's in Santa. No, listen, it is in North Riding. Anyway, I had been to that shop before, not shop, but to that center. Melts for things, so that's why maybe Pretoria, maybe Marlborough, it's got a melts, like in a lady restaurant. It's very beautiful, and like, you feel like it's in my neighborhood. I feel like it's in North Riding, I'm not sure. There is a cult operating from there, and my ex-boyfriend belongs to it. That's the cult that he in particular belongs to. All right, those are one of its head offices, and they always congregate meet over there. And sometimes I get dreams where I see this joint, this here shopping center, the shoppers are encircling, and they're sitting in a boardroom by selling this snacks by South Africa. Quit that ugly thing. Anyway, whatever. All I can do is warn a brother. Kima weekends when you weren't originally a Satani, what did you expect? It was okay, Shwa. Anyway. And it is Koperia in particular. And I had a dream where it is that there were these men congregated in a boardroom, and the cluster of them was made up of government officials, media bosses, big business bosses in South Africa from across the country, but their head offices were in Durban. And this year meeting yabo was men only. Men only, no women allowed, as is indeed the nature of many secret societies. They are patriarchal in nature and are heavily misogynistic and would never ever allow women to be part of them. But because the world is made up of men and women, and they know that they can't effect their strategies without women, they recruit women even though they don't like them. Women, however, would never ever be given understanding as to the inner workings of this secret society. Only paid to push an agenda, given another idea as to what's going on, and then in themselves be duped as to what is being done. You will know that Ayatollah Khamenei so hated women that he called them animals. They're given them by God for the pleasuring of men and no other thing. A man like that running a theocracy, of course, is going to kill you for not wearing a hijab, because he thinks that you are there for nothing but sex and you're not even a human but an animal. But did Ayatollah Khamenei not have women helping the cause along? Because every time one crazy dude died from them all, were there not these weird little mourning women that you look at or somehow you don't like this guy because he don't like you? Until you find out that apparently, allegedly, in order to look legitimate and like there are women that actually like them, the Islamic regime actually pays women to act like they either are mourning at a funeral when nobody's really sad, or they pay women to out here accuse Israel of bombing their house and they don't know whether they're coming or going. Recently, I learned of this one lady in Iran who is a, hear it now, prostitute. Madimabe, I've been saying that's what you are, okay? There is this like prostitute in Iran that was hired by the Iranian regime to act at different spots as a mourner, at funerals, or as a disoriented, crying woman after an Israeli strike lands somewhere, and she's like, oh, my house has been shot and I don't know where my mother is and I'm so sad. But she was found at so many places out here acting, pretending like she's afflicted, that when all these photographs were taken, it was ultimately discovered that this here stupid woman is an actor and she's been hired by the regime. Madimabe, you remind me of that Iranian whore. Yeah. When I saw the story being told about that Iranian prostitute lady, I was like, she's literally like Madimabe. She's literally like Lorraine. She is literally like Matagala. Bamototali loose already. She was a prostitute, is a prostitute. And it is prostitutes and drug dealers, gangbangers that the Iranian regime hires as actors in order to free them from prison terms, in order to alleviate them from assassination, rather than take the noose for the crimes they're committing. Because unlike in South Africa and Iran, of course, prostitution is illegal. It's an Islamic state. If they bust you for it, they then will tell you, we're not going to assassinate you, but you work for me now. What you are is an actor. You're going to go to rallies and you're going to cry against Israel. You're going to go on the streets and you're going to cry against America. And when one of our little douchebags die, you're gonna mourn and you're gonna release some real tears, and we're gonna pay you to act like you are devastated. And in so being that thing, you will spare yourself from either jail, or you will get a reduced term, or you won't be executed. Madimabe, you are out here fished from a life of harlotry by a cult, and they were like, act as something that other than what you aren't. You're gonna work at YouTube as a grown woman, in the moderating space as a middle-aged woman out here looking like you have no ambition, and you are going to be planted there to thwart Christians. But what you are is somebody that is going to make a decent salary, though it looks like all you're earning. Moderator go YouTube, but you are earning way more than moderators because you are being paid by a cult and you've been planted in that job. So you sit in it confusing people as to why under heaven this here middle-aged woman has no ambition enough to grow out of a job of being a stupid moderator. Honey, it's because you're not getting paid. What is it, 15,000 rands a month, 20K? You're earning upwards of like 45,000, maybe 50,000 rands a month. Money that all other moderators cannot for the life of them fathom ever coming into their pockets. Because how do you earn so much money? Why do you live in such a house? As a moderator. Yeah, except you supplement your salary, you embezzler you. Prison, and they reduced your sentence, or they said we won't execute you insofar as you will act like you're really, really sad when Ayatollah Khamenei dies. I mean, that's better than death, and it's better than a jail cell with like maggoted blankets or licey blankets that are gonna eat away at my flesh. So I'll take it. I will act like I am utterly devastated at the death of Khamenei right next to cry about what Israel has done to my mom. It's killed my mom. I'm so sad. Yeah, you're committing crimes in South Africa. Because loose. Now your looseness came in handy. So you do orgies. You destroy the lives of Christians on the internet, and then you cry that Khamenei is dead when you literally don't care. You're a woman and you keep on saying it to yourself, I'm a woman, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And then the other day you were complaining that, oh, snappity doop doop snap. I came here for you. I was your mistress, your side chick. Now you want to marry Karaba. Oh, what in land? Because after divorce, you're high, them said what doing. How about OC? And I think Wangha. He's Khamenei. I celebrate because I'm not a prostitute. In exchange for acting like you're mourning at a crazy funeral. Yeah. Like Khamenei. But you see, they hire you guys in that stage. That's what this cult of yours that you work for is. And I'm here to try to explain to you. You're not a prostitute. That has out you hired yourself for a fee. That has hired yourself out for a fee. Tobana. Basagating basadi. Bakale batemecha koskolongo habetsa di orale. Sa English bona basakgone who piece together a grammatically correct sentence. This is what's given. Okay? Mamela osinyana. Amadoda wakho awasebenzelayo. Ithi ngikuhlalosetse ukuthi le cult oyisebenzelayo Gresha nokuyirwa kwakho, how strategic it is, and how this guy that you've been thinking uyakuthanda never can. Uzonda abothikeni so much that he prefers to sleep with men. Umfazi wakhona umthathele nje just because he did not want to be viewed as gay because he's a typical Zulu. That Alger is nice and old school, and coming out of the closet is unacceptable. Got the umfazi that he just did not care for. When you came into the picture as a side chick and a mistress, he's willing to have sex with you. I've dated a guy in the closet before, girl. I personally, I've dated a closet homosexual, and the guy could not make any machinery work. How's that going for you? Anyway, whatever. Get out here, busy on 10 hours to get stuff working. Cause uratadi out. Oral herpes. And that is the reason why he still insists on sleeping with women, but largely he's just gay. That you are expecting is gonna marry you after Musadi Wate. I'm a divorce. Is it because he has jet set you across the world, or you are guaranteed? Insofar as do you actually love him? Listen, I need to understand, do you have feelings for this guy? Because he does not like you at all. First of all. I guess the exception. Maybe on Khala Tabak 90 million and 1 million Kamara. I can't go again. Because I'm a fetish to him. That's all that I am. And Basadi go fella baling pure and virgin like kitty fetish. And not for him to become gay. Alright. Why exactly? Anyway, whatever. So for you to marry a millionaire, it's like, I guess, a ticket out of Bohosha. Again, for favor, for economic benefit. Again, a mistress for years. And he's willing to essentially even get caught for adultery with you because you're a girl and he doesn't want to be regarded as gay. Like I said, mama Georgia, so okay. And what's about okay? Because Mamela, I've been with a closet homosexual. Stuff don't work, girl. It don't work. They are so unattractive to women that nothing works. Anyway, whatever. Alright, very well. Cool beans and banana peels. I'll take you more in the bedroom. I was a little busy guy on now because of the millions are high. Did it trips Milan? Maybe that's all that you're looking at. Later out here now, ever again. He also has many children across the South Africa. How about Tokomeli? He's just like my dad. And I Kenya and Asalanje Akulminyongo Lonkilan. Oh, did I drunk out here? When I get the boat, let's get substances, Marakel. And I'm so what anyway, whatever.